is your photography videographer. Yeah, love cars. He is, and Lottie, your youngest sister, 6 years younger. It's interesting that one of the things they all keep back to is that you really haven't changed. I appreciate that. Yeah, but that's what they said. Your best friend from childhood said that one of the most remarkable things, that you're still made out of the same stuff and you've never turned around and thought you were anything more than you were.
Power of self-confidence. Become unstoppable, irresistible, and unafraid in every area of your life, Brian Tracy. Oh, by the way, watching
It's at least 50%.
Diary of the CEO, I read this book because I have
A crazy situation.
brain rot, bro. I don't know how to explain it.
There's people around you that all of a sudden feel that used to feel really, really similar, and all of a sudden they feel really
Nothing
different. I'm not talking about
splendid has
day-to-day
ever been
conversation, but I'm talking
achieved,
about stuff that we can relate to. Problems that I
expected
might
by
have had in
those who
life,
dared
you know,
believe
talking
that
about.
something inside of
And I
them
think
was to
that's quite an
create a
alienating
circumstance.
feeling.
I mean,
So
substances.
instead of kind of just submitting, I've always resisted that. It's been really important to me, and those kind of things, you know, hearing that and hearing other people say that about me, that does make me really proud, because it's definitely, you know, it's definitely a
Welcome
lifestyle
to
that
the
can
No Fear Zone.
sweep you away.
In
But I
pages
think
ahead, you
the
will
other
learn how
side
to
of that,
develop
getting swept away,
confidence,
I don't really
courage, and
like the idea
unshakable
of what that might
determination
look like.
in
You know,
every area of your
you
life.
need people
You will
around you
learn
that
to
can tell
approach
you
the
you're
biggest
like
challenges and
vitally
opportunities of your
important in this
life
job,
completely
definitely. And
unafraid,
that's just,
convinced
I
of
think
your
when you're
ability to
surrounded,
accomplish
you
anything
know, like a
you
lot of
put your mind
successful people,
to.
like when you're surrounded only by
The
success,
good news is that you are
it's a
extraordinary.
funny
You're
kind of
extra.
narrative to be
The good news is
respected
that
when
you
people
have
don't. I feel like that
extraordinary
might be one,
potential for
definitely.
success,
So that is why
achievement, and
another reason
prosperity.
why, you
It's
know, I
more
was driving
talent
this
and natural
podcast and I
ability than
fucking
you
forgot
could
about one
use
of
in
it.
100 lifetimes. The only thing standing between
Yeah, it
you
feels like the
and the
most
incredible life that is possible for you is fear of all kinds. And by the time you finish
That
this
was the
book, your
first
fears will be
time
gone
I
forever.
could have
For more than
got
25 years, I've studied successful men and women
interested
looking
that.
for
She was really,
characteristics
really
or
friendly.
qualities they have in
There was something that
common
she was kind of,
that
she
will
was
enable
also
them to achieve so much
she said
more than the average person.
she
I've
never
read
swore.
thousands
She
of
never
book
swore. Like I
articles
remember
and
because
research
she was like, "Nah,
studies.
the thing is
I've read thousands of books and articles and research studies on success, and I've come to the conclusion that the foundation quality of success in every walk of life is self-confidence. Every man and woman who has ever accomplished anything out of the ordinary has turned out to have greater self-confidence than an ordinary person. When you have developed yourself to the point where your beliefs in yourself is so strong, you know that you can accomplish almost anything. You really want your future.
it's really surprising that
Your future will be unlimited. The great question. A woman who has listened to one of my programs wrote to me recently and told me that one line in the program has changed her whole outlook on life. It was it was simply a question. What one great thing would you dare to dream if you knew you could not fail? When she began asking herself that question over and over, her entire view of what was surely possible of her expanded dramatical. Well, when she began asking herself that question over, her entire view of what was surely possible for her expanded dramatically. It was clearly what she really wanted to be, have, and do. She simultaneously realized that it was only fear and doubt in her own abilities that was holding her back. What will you do differently if you were absolutely guaranteed for success in any undertaking? What if some great force could endow you with the power to achieve any goal that you could ever set for yourself? To put it another way, what if you were completely unafraid of anything, anyone, and you felt completely free to act in any area in your own best interest? The fact is that if you develop the qualities of unshakable self confidence, your whole world will be different. Unlimited self confidence. Okay. Unlimited self confidence. With greater confidence in yourself and your abilities, you will set greater goals, make greater, bigger plans, or commit yourself to achieving objectives that today you only dream about. You would take whatever steps were necessary to earn more money and enjoy a higher standard of living. You set your sights on a bigger house and a better car, more beautiful clothes, and nicer vacations. You would want all kinds of things for your family and for those close to you. You would do what you really want to do, and you would confuse to conform to the wishes or opinions of anyone else. You will depend your life in your own terms and live every day consistent with exactly what it is you want and not the wishes of other people. With greater self confidence, you will be a different person in every part of work, life, and career. You might decide to ask for promotions or a raise, or even change to another job or another company or even another industry. You would move immediately to do whatever it took to get onto a fast track in your career. If you are in sales, you will call on more people, make better and more forceful presentation, ask for more orders and close more businesses. If you are in management, you will organize and reorganize your human and material resources to create a work environment that suited you perfectly, rather than making endless compromises in an attempt to please a variance of different people. With greater self confidence, you will be bolder and more imaginative. You would be more creative and willing to experiment with the new and different ideas, the way of doing things. You would be willing to consider unusual, risky alternatives and be willing to commit yourself wholeheartedly to projects that today is sitting only on the back burner of your mind. Oh, Big Time Rush. I watched Big Time Rush. This guy's experience, Skyrim is actually very nice. More powerful, more popular, and persuasive. If you have had unlimited self confidence, you will be more powerful, popular, and persuasive with other people. You will be more cheerful, likable, and welcome wherever you want, and welcome wherever you want. You'd speak up, speak out clearly in your interactions with others. And you'd be admired, respected, and sought after by everyone who knew you. Recognition and responsibilities would flow to you because people's belief in your ability to do whatever it took to get a job done. Positions of prestige and status will open up for you, and people will bring your opportunities and possibilities that you cannot not now imagine.
Place to say from early on because neither of us are kind of rule abiding, and not in a way that's like utterly disruptive. It's just we have our own ideas, and that at least alleviated a little bit of the pressure, knowing that deep down, if I wanted to just go and do something, I would genuinely just go and do it. Whereas I think Liam and the other boys, actually, to a degree, there was an element of a little bit of fear, I think, and also Liam had, worked so hard from the age of 14 to get there. Liam's journey was a lot different to mine. I just felt like a happy-go-lucky guy with a lot of, whereas Liam was very, very precise and deliberate, and he got there for all his hard work. So I think we also came from a slightly different point of view. Another benefit that I had during that time, and I still have, is I'm not a dweller. I'm an overthinker for sure, but I wouldn't say like I'm a dweller. So I wouldn't use this phrase to me very often, but like there's definitely an element of ignorance to bliss during that whole time.
I find it so fascinating that you talk about this idea of you having the minerals of personality when you were against the system a little bit. Because when I spoke to your videographer,
Yeah,
he said
Dealing with difficulties with greater confidence, you could deal more effectively with the inevitable problems and difficulties that arise in day-to-day life. You would think continually in terms of solutions and how you could turn any situation for your best advantage. You would laugh at the adversities that is hurting most people and talk yourself out of jaws of failure. You turn lemons into lemonade. You would feel invincible and unconquerable. With higher levels of self-confidence, you will be far more effective in dealing with difficult people and situations. You will be a far better negotiator and be able to ask for and get better prices in terms of conditions in everything you bought and sold. With greater self confidence, with an unshakable belief in yourself, nothing would be impossible for you. More than anything else, you would feel terrific about yourself. You would feel truly happy about every part of your life, knowing deep down inside that
What gave me confidence in those
you
ideas
have
is
the
even if
ability
it
to
wasn't
take
a collective
whatever step,
voice, even if it was just my voice delivering
whatever
the message, it
changes
was always with
are
collective
necessary
attention.
to
It would
assume
always
that your
be
life is exactly the way you
making
want
those
it.
decisions now on my own. I know
You
they're not quite
would
as easy.
experience
There's a
tremendous
lot of
sense of
different kind of things
control,
at play, but
which
and
is the
again, it kind of comes
fundamental
from that
requirement
other
for
kind of role again. I
happiness,
was the
well
oldest in the
being, and
band.
maximum performance.
It was
You'd
kind
feel
of my
like the master
role
of your
I think
fate and
to
a
kind of
captain of your soul.
do that. And I
With
realised that
unlimited
by
self
far I was
confidence,
the most
you would feel
opinionated in the band,
completely self
definitely. So
determined
I
in
think I
change
wanted
of your
to
life.
use that book, not just
You
about
will
sports.
experience a feeling of
And even
strength,
more
of power,
instinctive about what I'm doing.
purpose, and you will have
This is
a
not
positive
like
mental
disrespectful
attitude
to
towards
like I
yourself
appreciate it was in
and
a boy band
everyone
that
in your
I
life
like
and everything
if you
you
like one
do.
genre of
With
music
unshakable
that
self
might be
confidence,
the
you
snap,
would
it's
unquestionably
boy
be
band if you could call
an
that a genre.
exceptional
So
human being.
going it's like so having that kind of feeling going into it That was why it was easy to kind of push against some of these old school ideas, because they were the ideas that I didn't. The reasons I didn't like these bands is because they all looked the same, because they felt very kind of PR pressed, you know. It was always a really interesting project for me to try and to look at One Direction and think, well, how could we make this a little cooler? I remember the real turning point in One Direction was when we put up the pre-order for our first single, What Makes You Beautiful. I can't remember the number, how much we sold that week, but we broke some record out of the pre-order, and we got told this, and we'd not released any music at this point. And I kind of think that's fascinating, because they don't know what it's going to sound like, but they're invested. That felt like power early on, and it also felt like that we could rewrite the rule book, because people were invested in us as much, if not more, than the music. That's fair to say.
Was there a part? Elements of my life I loved.
I would say that it's more gradual than that, really. You know, you start to lose some of your own independence to a degree, and also the age I was, right? So, like, I was 18 when I first joined the band, and I always say this: that year of my life before I auditioned for the X Factor, at least up to those 18 years, was the best year of my life. Independence at that point. I was driving, go out, like it was so fascinating socially. There's always something to do. So to leave that behind was quite gutting, actually. That took me a second to get used to it first. Now I always felt incredibly grateful.
You can develop self
Really
confidence.
excited every time I was doing
Fortunately, however,
any kind of
that
time
is not
reflection.
all easy.
I was really
Most
missing
people
out. I
have
mean, say
limited self
when we were
confidence, and
younger,
many people have no
countless
self
conversations
confidence
of like,
at all. Human beings tend to play with doubt about their own abilities and fear about every imaginable thing. Especially the unknown psychologist Abraham
there's a
Maslow
million different
says
reasons,
that the
right? But like
story
when
of the
things we
human
do
race is
before,
the story of
mostly for
men
me it's
and
about being
women
alienated.
selling
And I
themselves
can't
short.
like
The
many
great
of
majority
my
of people
life
tend to compare
experience was now not
themselves
so relevant to some
unfavorably
of
with
my
others.
friends, you
They
know.
dwell
And I
on
think
their
I also
own
had
weaknesses
this,
and
I think this
limitations, and they
part growing up
eventually
was
settle for a
working
far
close to town,
less
but
than
at least I
what
get
they are
for the
really
success and
capable
money
of.
that
Instead
I've
of
earned as
enjoying
well. And I think that also
high
took
levels of
part in saving
self-esteem,
it.
self-respect, and
I
personal
think
pride,
for
and the
these
average
kind of
person
two different
gets
things, the fame
from
thing
day to day. If
I'll never be
self-confidence or
okay.
self-esteem
Like
that
the fact
goes with it
of
is so
course every artist
desirable,
says this, but
why is it
if
that
I
so
could
few people
just
have
do
enough
music
self-confidence to live the lives
as
that
well
are
as I
possible
could on
for
that
them?
level of
There are a thousand
I think
reasons,
it's
but
almost yeah,
perhaps the
it's almost
most
everything else
wonderful
that comes with
discovery
that.
about
It's interesting when
self-confidence
this
is
makes
that
sense.
it's a mental
Sometimes
quality that can be learned with practice, because it's a learnable. Self-confidence can be developed and built up systematically and progressively over time by following instructions in
Yeah, but
this
it's
book.
also like the metaphor.
The good news is that everyone has a certain amount of self-confidence, more in some areas and less in others. And by working from that base, it's possible for you to build yourself up to the point at which you are completely confident in an area that is important to you. The great law. Perhaps the most important of all the laws that govern our life was put forth by Aristotle in about 350 BC. He called the principle of causality and proclaimed for the first time that we live in a universe governed by others, and there is a reason for everything that happened. We call it the law of cause and effect, and it is often referred to as the iron law of human destiny. The law of cause and effect can imprison us in a cell of our own making, or it can be or it can liberate us by giving us complete freedom depending on how we use it. The law itself, like the law of gravity, is neutral.
would have been really nice.
This law of cause and effect, which is both physical and a mental law, says that for every effect in our lives, there is a specific cause or causes. If there's an effect in our lives that we want more
It was only about 2 years ago that I put all the plaques up.
of, like more money, greater success, we can trace it back to the cause. By repeating the cause, we can enjoy more of the effect if we are in sales, business, and we have success. We can trace those success back to specific things that we did or achieve them by repeating those causes that we can enjoy the same effect. The law also says if there's an effect in our lives that we don't want, whether it overweights insufficient funds, problems with people, negative business conditions, we can trace that effect back to the causes by removing and changing causes. Because the laws of cause and effect is so simple and obvious, and no one seriously questions it. We live in a world and in a universe governed by law, not by chance. Everything happens for a reason. Neither success nor failure in an act is an accident. They have specific cause. When they repeat the causes, we get same effect. No matter who we are, this is just the way of the. This is just the way the world works. The roads of low self-confidence. We have to achieve first. One more day, we're about to start the book, and it's been 21 minutes.
I had all this night. I had this crazy thing. It's a bit noisy and it's quiet down sometimes. So what we would do is we'd get back on the tour bus, we'd play Call of Duty Zombies, we'd smoke our weed. Like that's all we did. All we did. And then we'd get into cliche stoner chats, conversation, of the UFOs, all that kind of shit. As daft as that might look and feel, again, sort of normality. It's great normality on tour. It's a version of what our friends were doing back home as well. Also, it's such a lovely way to kind of debrief from those moments. Away from the manicness, you've just got this kind of really subdued, nice environment. The juxtaposition.
Bro,
I can't stop doing that.
You could go back to the day that you signed a contract.
Yeah, man.
What is the advice that 33-year-old lives?
I think I would say to be confident in earlier years, because the older I get, the more I realise most people in their earlier years of doing said thing are to a degree fake. And I think for a long time I was just thinking, well, I didn't spend my life as a young lad thinking I was going to be a singer, so I'm playing catch up and all those things. And this there's another thing I'm more than comfortable to say. I'm not the best singer in the world. I can with that, right? But there was definitely a time where those things were challenging as a young lad. And I think I would just cut myself a bit of slack as a young lad, because it's been a lot of my defiance and decision making that's got me to where I got, and that should give me confidence. So I think as a young lad, I did really just felt like a deer in the headlights, and I didn't really have any kind of context of what was going on. And I think when I'm talking about these things, I'm not talking about no, we're not going to do this Disney performance because I don't think it looks good on for One Direction. I'm talking about more like introspective, personal work with the band, or those kind of things.
That's really choice.
With that. So I would say I would give myself a bit more credit. Found it really tough. So like as I said before, I was the kid who won the lottery. I sang my first audition for the X Factor. I feel like I did a good job. I was really surprised that I got the 3 yeses. Now, that was maybe 4 months before the first audition aired. So I've told everyone this. obviously. I'm in a band, I'm on the X Factor, and I have told any that will listen, like everyone. And actually, neither me nor Niall got any TV time on our audition. So the irony is, we get put in this band. People have no idea we are. Like, there's no context for the viewers to actually see this and actually really care. I felt like I was playing catch up from that moment here. I remember this like really like real naffy, typical X Factor thing. We went filming for the judges' houses, which is the stage. You have the auditions, the boot camp, judges' houses, live shows. And we went filming for judges' houses. And I was already questioning, I wasn't really singing at all. I've not had like any individual thing to sing, so like harmony stuff. And I got stung by a sea urchin, right? Lip story, foot blew up like an elephant. We had to film all this, you know what X Factor's like, right? We had to film all this Jeopardy. It's like how will the boys audition without them? It was awful. It was awful because there was no credibility to that thing. The boys could have auditioned straight away. At that point, I was doing a lower harmony. I would be shocked if anyone could even hear me in the mix at that point. So that was really challenging. Where I'm already starting to feel those things, and then you get something like that that's quite literal, and they're trying to sell this Jeopardy. And I remember thinking, I wanted to do more. I just didn't know how to do that. Again, there's no context. I thought I was a good singer before I went to the X Factor. Then I get through the audition, they put me through. I'm like, okay, well, I must be all right. Then they don't show the TV audition. You're like, oh, maybe it's like a personality thing. Or I don't know, maybe it's my voice. There's a lot of, especially as a young lad in this situation, there's a lot of unanswered questions.
Did you ever ask those questions?
Did I ever ask him why I was in that band? No, I would love to though. I would have loved to. But do you know why I would never with him? Simon would probably Simon was always very brilliant at making me feel like worthy in the band. But as you said before, like I was often a voice between the band and the label. He was the label. He put me on side. It's a smart one. One thing he would always do, Stephen, is he would always say my name. Now, when you're a 19-year-old lad, and Simon Cowell says, do you know what the thing is about that idea? You are empowered. Now, we lie people using our names. Now imagine that Simon Cowell, you're 19 years old. There is a spell that comes with that. There's a power that comes with that. And I think for a long time I kind of fell for all those kind of ideas. Now I think Simon again is an interesting person. He is a brilliant businessman. I learned a lot from him. I still deep respect. And I was in awe of him. I love to be around him. I love to listen to him make decisions and all of that. And I thought he was definitely brilliant at that time. He built me up on a pedestal to the point where I thought that it would actually have a real world, not just a Starling. Right. When I joined Psycho,
So bad.
yeah, sorry. So the band split up, and no, I didn't have records. It's never like that. Even if I had, I could have had 10 offers on the table. Let's just assume they're all the same. I would have picked Simon always because, like, again, a little bit like the north of England, loyalty is like a really important currency. It really is kind of places really vital. And I think it was.
Just a little bit of adjustment. Sorry if there was any noise there.
Some of the other boys about going to the labels, they were right to. And I found out I was the only one who was going to stay with them, and that just motivated me more. So all the other boys went and joined different record labels, some of them not even within labels that were in Sony, which Psycho was part of. And I'm thinking, oh wow, it's amazing for me actually that all the boys have done that, because how good this makes me look to Simon. I look really loyal, and like some of it was like deliberate, but mostly that's just how I am as a person. Like I would rather just keep the happy family kind of vibe. That suits me.
One of the things people don't talk about is the impact that your success has on everyone else in Doncaster, including your mum. That it was especially hard for your mum. So you described you were more than just a kid. You were raising the family.
Mace as well, man. Yeah, definitely.
Did you ever speak to you about him?
I mean, like I remember really clearly, and she used to do the university analogy. She used to say, I knew you were going to leave home at some point, but I had at least a time scale to that. I could like work towards in my head, okay, 3 months' time, so then leave for uni, and that's that. One Direction never happened like that. It all ran away with itself. So I think it felt like we all blinked, and before we knew it, I was no longer living at home. So my mum had no time to even grieve that idea. And just context, I mentioned this I made a film, a documentary, and it kind of sums up me and my mum's relationship perfectly. The first person I told when I lost my virginity was my mum. Like I was as if I was telling like one of my lad mates. I was just, and I wasn't telling her for any other reason other than show up. I mean, like get out today, and that we definitely had that kind of energy together. We always saw her more as best friend than anything else. And especially because I was her first, she had me when she was 19. We spent the first few years together.
The loss of self
The male
confidence.
role model.
The
So it
world
was a
is full of
little
people
deeper
who are
than
not
your
happy with
average,
their
sort
results,
of
and yet they
situation. So
continue to
it
do
really hit me more like a
the
ton of
same
brick.
thing and
If I had
think
my
the
time
same
again,
thoughts,
I would have been more
say the same
present and
things,
aware of
and
those kind of
take the
ideas.
same actions
And
every
actually,
day.
here's a
And
story.
they are assumed
I don't
and
think
they
I've
are
ever told
amazed that
Stacey
they
there's Stacey
continue
and
to
Phoebe
get
on
the same negative
my sisters
effects.
who are
Einstein's definition of insanity
and they're
was
about
continue to do the same thing
they're
over
about
and over again, expecting a different result. However, this is simply
especially
not
when they're
possible.
really young.
The law of cause and
And I can
effect
remember the more time
applies
I spent, and the more time I spent away from
equal
home,
validity to our
it
levels of
wasn't comfort enough to
confidence
use
all
their
around
names,
us. Throughout
but
the
they always
human
called me.
history,
I always had to mention the
there
name
are
because I
and have
wasn't
been men
certain
and women
who
with
the
exceptionally
these
high
two
levels of
sisters
self
that I spent
confidence
my life with and
who
grew up with.
who
But I
have gone
think
to
it
achieve
shows just how
extraordinary
little
things
that was.
in studying the
And it, I
lives
mean,
and
most of them
stories
weren't
of
silly,
these
which was
people.
great, but the
We
kids at
find it that
school,
some
stuff like
of
that.
them
So
started
there
out with high
was
levels of
a
self
long time
confidence
for those
that
about
they
this
learned
5 years
from
were in
their
the band,
parents in early
a long
childhood.
time
However,
spent
the most of
not
them
spending
started
enough
off
of it.
the
I
same
would say
way.
that is
We
at
all
most
we all start off
85% of the
and
job,
deep down
depending on the
feel
situation and what direction it's
and
from, and
deep
then
down
15%
feeling of inferiority
to
and
I've definitely
inadequacy
done more like
because
that.
of the destructive
But
criticisms, lack of
when you're living
love,
a life
and
where
other
you're one direction,
mistakes that their
you try to
parents
be so competitive,
make
and when
with us in early
you're
childhood.
not
We
smart enough
grow
to
up
realise the
with
value
diminished
of this
feelings of
family's
self esteem, low self
absolute
confidence,
rubbish.
and a feeling that I'm not good enough. In comparison with others, with self low self confidence, many people today work extremely hard on the outside to achieve success. However, when they, when they do deep down and they feel like imposters, this so-called fear of success is really a feeling of unworthiness that we can't seem to get rid of, no matter how much we achieve. Many successful men or women are repeating the same line of Peggy Lee's song. Is that all there is? When looking around them at their homes and cars. So you want to be happy. What people want more than anything else is just to feel really good about themselves. They want to be happy and positive and have a self of well being. Above all, what we all really want is peace of mind. And you can only enjoy this peace of mind when you feel confident in your ability to deal effectively with the requirements of life, with your family, your friends, your work, your customers, your social activities, and all other things that you are involved in. The law of cause and effect tells us that if we want to enjoy the effects of self confidence, we need only we need only engage in the causes of self confidence. If we can find out what it is that other highly self confident men and women think and say and do, and then do the same thing, we will eventually get the same results. We eventually feel the way we eventually become unstoppable. It's often hard for people to believe that mental qualities can be developed just like physical qualities can be developed. If this were if this were a program on how to run a physical marathon, and I was offering to train you day by day over the next 6 months to run a marathon, you would come to realize that even non-runners can go from being physically unfit to running a marathon of 26.4 miles in 6 months of disciplined training. Today, there is even men and women in their 50s and 40s running marathons with this kind of training. What this book will do for you is to put you through a mental marathon. This marathon will not be arduous or painful physically as a physical marathon, but it will require a tremendous amount of work, and the amount of work that you put in will exactly determine the results that you get out. If you follow these proven practical principles drawn from the lives and behaviors of the most successful men and women alive today, and all of which is scientifically validated by the extensive research and experience, you can develop the self-confidence that you desire so that you can achieve anything you really want. Let's begin. The power of self-confidence. The foundation of self-confidence. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. William Shakespeare.
Wasn't until after the event that I realized I knew it's like great grief. I was a little bit experienced. No, no, the same thing. With that. Things like anything like that.
I think I've finished the prologue.
Felt wheels start to turn, emotion like that. You're looking the other way. We had a bit.
I think I'm going to watch this thing, then read chapter one on my own, like silently.
Was us boys.
Because of the prologue, that's why I read it out loud and I said, let me just talk about it. But me reading it, I can't even remember anything. But my attention is divided between two things, and I can't even concentrate on the book. Even now, I have more interest to watch this podcast than actually to read this book. It's actually amazing. I want that.
Was an atmosphere that I never really felt in the band because normally, like I said, we're arm in arms, it's all this camaraderie, and then all of a sudden you get someone thinking more independently and more